Want to create stunning proximity-driven effects in Blender, material coating, masks, displacement, growing hair and flowers, shatter, and more, all reacting in real time to a single object. ProximityFlow puts all of that in one add-on. Let's get it installed. Go to Edit, Preferences, Add-ons, click the arrow at the top right, and select Install from Disk. Navigate to where you saved the add-on file. I have mine in Documents. Select the zip file and press Install from Disk. Once it's installed, make sure the checkbox is enabled so the add-on is active. After the add-on is installed, press N to open the side panel, find the ProximityFlow tab, and click it to open. Expand the sidebar a little to make things look clear and easy to navigate. We will delete everything from the scene, add a plane and scale it up. It will serve as our primary object. Then add a mesh or an empty plane axis. We need these two objects as input for the add-on to work. Select the plane first, then press Shift and select the empty plane axis and press Generate New Layer. Now the proximity relationship is established. The add-on is actively tracking the distance between both objects and is ready to drive effects. If your primary object doesn't have enough geometry, you can subdivide it directly from the panel. Just click Add Subdivision and pick the level number you need. If you press Add Mask, then Invert, you will get a hole that opens up on the surface. Wherever the empty gets Kelly diameter, press G to grab the empty and move it along the XY plane with G plus Shift plus Z. You can control the masking effect with the threshold. Press Smooth to soften the edges for a more organic look. Move the empty plane axis and enjoy the effect. Adjust the influence distance. It controls how close the empty needs to be before the effect starts activating. It's best used for a revealing effect, like an object materializing out of thin air. It works on any shape too. Add a wireframe. Control its wire thickness from the panel, scroll up, and adjust the influence distance. It looks especially striking on a wireframed objects, like a holographic structure assembling itself in real time. Remove the wireframe and mask effects, then add a displacement. Right-click the object and select Shade Smooth for a clean look. Adjust the strength and mid-level to control how far the geometry is pushed and where the neutral point sits. Set the texture type to clouds, marble, wood, or musgrave, and change the scale to control the size of the displacement pattern. Move the empty plane axis and watch parts of the plane rise and deform as the empty gets closer. You can also invert the vertex group influence on the displacement. Now the plane is already displaced everywhere, and as the empty plane axis gets closer, the surface smooths back into a perfect flat plane, like something being ironed out or erased. You can also combine multiple effects together. For example, keep the displacement active, but lower its strength and influence distance, so it stays subtle in the background. Then go to the Proximity Growth section, set your hair count and length, and click Add Proximity Growth. Now when you move the empty plane axis around, hair starts growing on the surface as the empty gets closer, while the displacement is still working underneath at the same time. So you end up with a surface that both grows and deforms, all driven by the same empty. In hair length, toggle the length vertex group off to disable the proximity effect on hair. You'll be left with uniform hair and no displacement. Toggle invert to flip the effect direction. I'll remove the displacement for now so we can focus on the hair. Adjust the distance to widen the influence range. By inverting the vertex group, the hair gets shorter as the empty gets closer, as if the target is trimming or burning away whatever it touches as you move the empty. For more density, toggle interpolated children and the surface fills up with thick, lush strands. We can also replace the hair with other objects like flowers, trees, or anything else. These are called instance objects, meaning the same object gets repeated across the surface in bulk. I'll add a flower as the instance object. You can either model one yourself or grab it directly from the Blender Kit add-on library. Just open the library, search for it in the search bar, and drag it into your scene. The flower is already sitting in a good position in the scene. To control how many appear, adjust the hair count since it also drives the number of instances. Keep it small, around 200, to keep things manageable. The hair length value also controls the size of each instance object. Increase it to make the flowers visible. Now add the flower as the instance object. You'll notice right away that it's pointing in the wrong direction. To fix the orientation, rotate the instance along each axis until it aligns naturally with the surface. To route the flowers into the plane, adjust the Z offset value. Hold Shift while dragging to make finer, more precise adjustments until the base of each flower sits naturally on the surface. As you move the empty closer to the plane, the flowers start growing around it. Adjust the scale to resize the flowers, or enable the random scale slider to give each instance a slightly different size. You can also randomize the rotation so no two flowers are facing the same direction, making the distribution look more natural. With object rotation turned on, rotating the instance object will rotate all the flowers on the plane along with it. With global coordinates enabled, the instance flowers will follow the position of the instance object. Toggle invert and move the empty. Now as it gets closer, the flower shrinks. Increase the influence distance to make them disappear completely. Remove growth effect. Then, let's move to the Solidify effect. As you add a Solidify, you'll notice some black artifacts forming in the corners of the geometry. To fix this, go to the top of the Addon panel and press Flip Normals. The normals now point outward correctly, and the artifacts disappear. Adjust the Solidify thickness, and move the empty plane axes to enjoy the effect. Invert the vertex group influence for a reversed version where the surface thickens everywhere except near the target. Toggle flip shell direction to reverse which side the thickness extrudes toward. With the Shatter Effect, you can break and animate any object in just a few clicks. Before applying it, make sure your mesh has enough geometry. Head to the Mesh Density section and subdivide your object a few times. In the Shatter Effect section, set your fragment count. This controls how many pieces your object breaks into. Just make sure your mesh has enough faces to support that number. For the explosion settings, blast power controls how hard the fragments are pushed outward. Chaos adds turbulence and randomness to each fragment's trajectory. Gravity controls how much fragments fall after the blast. Set your blast frame. This is the frame where the explosion happens. Set your end frame for how long the simulation runs. If you want to reveal something hidden inside the object, enable Add Inner Layer and adjust its size to fit your inner object perfectly. Hit Apply Shatter Effect, then press Play Shatter. If your object doesn't shatter, set the influence distance to 0 so it doesn't interfere with the effect. Hit Play Shatter again and watch your object explode. You can adjust blast power, chaos, and gravity in real time. Press play and the changes take effect immediately. Now for the proximity-driven reveal, increase the influence distance, go up and add a mask, then hit Invert. The influence zone now controls which area stays intact while everything outside it shatters and blasts away. Adjust the distance in the Proximity Layers section to control exactly how much of the object breaks. Press play and watch the effect animate in real time. You can also combine this with other effects. Add wireframe on top for a completely different look. When you're done tweaking, set your fragment count and timing values, then press Rebuild Shatter to apply those changes. Press Play Shatter to preview. Once you're happy with the result, press Bake Simulation. Your animation is locked in and ready to render. Press Delete Bake if you want to start over with new settings. Finally, press Remove Shatter and everything is cleaned up. No trace left on your object. In the Dynamic Displacement section, press Add Displacement. Adjust the influence distance and displacement strength to achieve the desired visual result. Click Toggle Influence View and watch the weight paint heat map appear on your mesh. Redder is most influenced by the proximity target. Blue areas are least. This is the invisible map that drives every effect in the add-on. It is a great way to understand exactly how the proximity is being distributed across your surface before committing to any effect. To clear everything at once, click Remove All Proximity Flow. Data and every modifier, particle system, and vertex group the add-on created will be stripped from your object in one click. With dynamic displacement still active, add a Bezier circle to your scene or draw your own custom path from scratch. Once your curve is ready, go to the Motion Path section in the panel. Add your curve to the Path Curve slot, set the duration you need, and press Attach Target to Path. Position your target at the start of the path. Press play, and the target smoothly follows the curve, pulling all your proximity effects along with it automatically. And finally, the most powerful feature. In version 2.5, you can now add multiple independent proximity layers to the same object. Add a new empty to your scene, position it where you want, select the plane object, then the empty and press Generate New Layer. Each layer you create appears in the Proximity Layer section, where you can control the influence distance and fall off for each one independently. From there, add any effect you want, mask, displacement, wireframe, or hair growth, and use the Driven By selector to assign it to whichever layer you choose. Add as many layers as you need, each one driven by a different empty moving on its own path, all affecting the same object simultaneously. That is where the real, creative possibilities open up, and you can start producing truly cinematic results. That is ProximityFlow. Go experiment and drop your results in the comments.